right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. It's season number 3. Don't know what episode it is. Just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, remember, hit that like, subscribe button down below so we can continue to have this thing grow, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. But I'm with another special guest here today. I got Coach G from GFit. It provides mental performance training, physical, sports-specific training to improve the athlete from the inside out. And there's much, much more that they do, but that to me was kind of the most important parts. So Coach G, thank you and welcome to the Coach's Compass.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So what got you into the industry of strength and conditioning and performance training?
Okay, so going way back, I went to Oklahoma State University. I ran track my first year and then had 2 surgeries following that, so decided to hang it up. And then I had a lot of free time, so I got a job at the gym, just like sitting at the desk checking people in. And I was making $7.25 an hour. But there was trainers there, and I found out the trainers were making $17 an hour. So I was like, I could do that. So I got a certification, really just thinking about the money aspect, and then started training while I was at school. Enjoyed it, and then I started working with the strength and conditioning staff at Oklahoma State. And then just kind of kept rolling, decided that's what I wanted to do. And then I found an internship right after I graduated in 2015 out here in Southern California. So I moved out for that, ended up working for that company for about 2 years, and then started GFit. So that's the short, sweet version.
How did GFit come about in this whole thing? Because I mean, you talk about going from the college sector to then moving into an internship and kind of going here and there. What made you want to do GFit?
So I originally wanted to work with professional athletes, and I got really lucky that I got placed in that right away. So I was working with NFL. We did NFL combine stuff, mostly football, some basketball. I enjoyed it, but as I kept going, I had like a few groups of teenagers, and I really enjoyed the high school population. I feel like professional athletes, they already know what they're doing. They're fun to be around, but they already made it. So they're really just there for accountability. With high school, you're like really teaching and really learning. So I ended up leaving my company to take a job somewhere else. And when I got there, they introduced me to like their best trainer. I was kind of shadowing him and did not think he was a good trainer at all. And I was like, if this is your best, I don't know that I want to be here. And literally, so I had a group of teenage girls that were sophomores in high school at the time from my old job. And in my transition, we were doing like beach workouts just for fun. And I remember being on the beach with them thinking like, man, I wish I could just do this. And so I was at that new job for like less than a week. And then I was like, I'm just going to try. So I just decided to try to go out by myself. And 8 years later, here we are.
How was it to kind of branch out on your own? Like, was there a lot of fear that went into it or nervousness? And how did you kind of build up your brand?
I think I wasn't that nervous, but I credit that to the fact that I was 23 and ignorant, probably. But I had that group of teenage girls that really got me started. I still keep in touch with them. They're all like 25 now. I had a few adults, so I was doing more like adult training just for revenue. So for the first like year and a half, I would say I was getting by and struggling to an extent. And I was frustrated because I only had like that handful of athletes and the rest was like adult fitness. And I was like, I really don't want to be in adult fitness. I don't have fun with it. I don't want to help you lose weight when you just leave and go eat in and out right after. It's not for me. So I just, I had a ton of free time at the time. So I would come in here actually and just email like every club program I could, every school, stuff like that. And I ended up reaching out to someone who, there's a program called ABA out here. It's basically like an online school for kids that want to play basketball. And so I started working with them once a week and I did it completely for free for about 6 months. And then after that, one of the staff members there connected me to a high school. And I ended up starting in high school out here in Anaheim with their boys basketball team back in 2019. And then after that, it just started rolling. So I got that team and I got several other teams at the school and kind of started building my reputation. Now I only work with athletes, which is great.
You're
So
at where you want to be at. You know what I mean?
yeah, where I want to be. It's definitely crazy to see the process, but it's been
How
awesome.
tough was it to kind of get those like no responses or hear no's, and kind of
Yeah,
how was that on your mental side of things, and how did you kind of just like push through it and like say like, hey, I'm more persistent that I want to work with
yeah,
athletes and eventually it will fall into place, but right now I got
yeah,
to continue to work with these adults and this one little group
yeah.
of athletes I do have to make it by to like kind of pay the bills. So what did like how much mental toughness did you build up in that time period?
I feel like I've always, especially with my career, I've always had the mindset like I know I'm gonna get there. It's just a matter of I don't know when and I don't know how. So literally all I could think of doing at that time was like, okay, in my free time, all I'm gonna do is message people. But I never got anything back. And I think that the universe works like as long as you're trying, you're gonna get rewarded. So I didn't get any responses from that, but I magically got other things laid in my hands that were actually better. So I feel like I don't remember ever being like, oh, I hate this or I want to quit. It was more of just like, I have to pay the bills. So I would definitely drag myself through the adult sessions at 5 a.m. Like, really don't want to be here. But
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get
if
by.
not, I gotta go live with my parents in Kansas and I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're out in sunny
Yeah.
LA, back to Kansas. Like, nah, that doesn't
No,
really sound too
can't go
great.
backwards like that. Yeah. So definitely is, I think, takes resilience, but I also think it's more patience than anything. Like if you really believe you're gonna get there, as long as you just keep going, you will. And so I think just being patient and just trusting the process. I know that's super cliche, but it's true.
I mean, it's the honest truth, but I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
athletes don't want to hear that. Trust the
Yeah.
process, kind of. I mean, especially if we look at nowadays, everything is kind of
Yes.
now. Like we want it now, we
Hmm.
want it to happen now. What are you
Yep.
doing now with this whole mental performance training, and how important is it for athletes to work on their mental side, and what is it so important to you?
It became important to me, honestly, like right around the time of COVID is when I was thinking about doing this. I think COVID had such a heavy impact on teenagers and like middle school age students because you're literally just being pulled from everything you know. You're waking up and doing computer school. You're not seeing your friends.
Yeah, turn the
Just
camera
like,
off, kind of just sitting there.
yeah, they're not actually doing school. They love that part. But like, I mean, we obviously couldn't have workouts inside at all. So once things were like cleared to an extent, we would do beach workouts with some of my guys. But even that was really tough because we had no clue when we'd even be playing basketball. So this is like, April of 2020, and we didn't actually have a basketball season start until April of 2021.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was tough because they're like, what's the point of this? Why are we even training? And they're just lost. And then especially post COVID, I noticed a huge difference in how kids operate, like my pre-COVID kids and my post-COVID kids, especially kids that were like 12 or 13 during COVID. I think they just missed a huge window of like socialization and I don't know, just going through puberty and being around other people. Like they're just super, super, super insecure with themselves. I think it's a credit to social media also.
Yeah.
So I just noticed like in my time just seeing kids like become more and more insecure athletically and just in general. And I had one kid in particular that just was a phenomenal athlete, but just could not see it and was fine in practice, worked really hard, but then in games it's like shut down. One mistake, shut down the whole game, struggled so bad. So I think I kind of just started with him because I really cared about his success and we would talk about, why is this happening? What can we do? So that's kind of what inspired me. That was probably 3 years ago at this point. And then I just also started thinking about my career long term. Like I love being in the weight room, but I don't necessarily want to be training like 7, 8 hours a day. So how can I stay in the sports world? How can I stay with my business, but kind of branch out? So the mental side kind of sparked my attention and I love it. I love seeing the growth of athletes because you're still seeing like athletic progress,
Right.
even though you're only improving the mental, which is really cool. And I think more kids and more people in general just need to know that like our brain is just like a muscle and we have to work on it. We have to train it. We have to grow it just like every other aspect of sports. So that's
And
what
what
I
type of
try to preach.
what type of mental training are you doing and like kind of preaching and practicing with your athletes? Because I think some you talk about like mental performance. Like someone might think that, hey, like just be tough or like
Yeah,
just be strong when you go in the weight room. Like don't show any
yeah,
emotion. Like that's
right.
mental toughness. But like
Uh-huh.
how do you implement this in athletes? 'Cause I mean, I think it's probably a lot easier to kind of talk to the newer generation of athletes about like
Yeah,
expressing how they feel about things and all that stuff. But
yeah,
if you talk to like us 30 and older, we're like, yo, like what are you
exactly.
talking about? Like
I know.
I'm good. Like I'm sure like no
I
matter
know.
what, I'm showing up to the weight room. I'm good to go. Like
Yeah.
ain't worried about all that outside stuff. But how do you mix the two?
It's yeah, I'm honestly on that side. Like I was never I didn't show my feelings till I was like 28 years old to anybody. Like I'm good.
It took me till
And
33. I
yeah,
get it.
yeah, exactly. So, and I work with a lot of boys, and I think especially on the boys' side, as teenagers, like I'm good, I'm tough, like, and you can see right through it. I can tell who's insecure. I can tell who lacks confidence. So the biggest thing for me, like I call it mental performance for a reason. I really don't like the term mental health. I think it's overused. I think it kind of has a negative connotation at this point for some people, especially in athletic male population.
Definitely with the males.
Yes. So I don't even talk about mental health. I don't associate with that term. I chose mental performance because there's so many studies and there's so much science on how your brain affects how your body is, affects how your mindset is. So I try to explain that. I always start off. One is just like looking at your daily habits. Like, how are you sleeping? Like most teenagers are up till 3 a.m. staring at their phones. That affects your mental state when you're not sleeping regularly. Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating? Just little things like that. And I correlate that back to mental performance. Like these are physical things and habits that we have to choose to do, but that affects our brain and it affects how we perform. So I bring it back to that to make it like, oh, I have control over what time I go to bed. I have control over what I put in my mouth and how I hydrate. Um, so I think it all comes back to that. Everyone wants control. Everyone wants, instant fixes. So I try to take it all the way back to like, look at our habits. And that also includes like, how are you talking to yourself? Like you make a mistake, is it instantly I suck? Or is it, okay, I made a mistake. How can I move on? Next play, whatever. And I like what you said earlier. It's like people are just like, well, just be tougher, just be stronger. And I hear coaches do that all the time. And when I was in high school, in the 400, like my coaches would always tell me you just need to run faster. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, but then
Duh, coach, like that's
break.
what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, isn't that what you just be the fastest? But how do you break that down? And I think when you get to a higher level, you break it down to like, okay, this first 100, this is how I need to go out. And the second, the back straightaway. Like when you break it down into smaller steps, then you can put it together like, okay, I can be faster. So I think it goes the same thing with mental performance. Instead of just like, hey, be tougher or, don't let it get to you. Okay, but how? So we kind of start with that. I start off with kind of like a little survey they fill out with different questions regarding confidence, performance anxiety, stuff like that to kind of see where they're at. And then I just let them tell me, like, what do you think is holding you back from being at the level that you want to be? And then we just break it all the way down and just ask why. Like, if you just keep asking why, you're going to get deeper into the root. Because so many, like, the first answer is always, I don't know. And then I'll just stare at them like, okay, well, I don't know either because I'm not used. So I'm going to wait for you to think a little bit harder. And then we just kind of dig into that. And it's really fun to watch them realize like that they do know the answer. They've just never actually sat with it. They've kind of just accepted this is just how I am. It's not going to change. But that's not true. You just haven't tried.
Right. How hard is it to have those conversations with the athlete and the parent? Because I mean, then you also have the parent now that is like us, a little bit older of the generation that says, "Hey, like our kids are
Yeah.
soft. Like I need them to be
Yes.
a little tougher." How much is it that like you talk to them about? Hey, it's okay to. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like I don't remember ever hearing like a time that my dad like was like, "Hey, I love you. Like you're doing great out there."
Yeah.
It's always like you messed up
Yeah.
on this, this, and this. Like you
Yeah.
need to get better at that. Like how do we like now work with the now day and age that is it's a different walk of life working with youth
It
athletes.
is. Yeah.
So how are those
Especially.
conversations going with you and the parent and the kid?
I try to, one thing I think about, I think as we become adults, we're like, oh, kids have it easy. You don't know what it's like. You got to pay bills when you get older, all this
I always
stuff.
tell them don't become an adult. It's not that fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to be six. But I think it's actually the opposite. Like, I would never want to be a teenager in 2025 with the amount, I didn't have, we had like Facebook on the computer when I was in high
MySpace.
school. But yes, exactly. So I think they have way more pressure on their backs from that, just from social media. Like, I have 10-year-olds that have basketball accounts. Like, I think that's silly. No college recruits are looking at 10-year-old highlights, but there's just so much pressure, and that does come from the parents initially. And I think a lot of parents are trying to live through their kids, or like, if you're going to go to college, you better get this scholarship. And there's just so much pressure. So the conversation I have with them is like, one, it truly is a different day and age than even me. Like, I'm younger than most of the parents. It's so different from when I was in high school. I would say it's much harder for them, the way the world that they're living in. Pressure in sports, like everything is being filmed. If you have a bad game, it's on camera. There's so many bad games I had that no one will ever see because it wasn't filmed like that back then.
Besides the coaches, you know.
Yeah. And then you have your coaches and your parents like, look at these mistakes, look at these mistakes, but they're not like, hey, you did well with this, you did well with this. Or even just wording it differently, like, what could you have done differently here? And asking them versus you sucked here or whatever. So I think just educating the parents and the coaches on, one, they are different. Like, we can be frustrated that it's softer, or we could just be open to the fact that it's different and appreciate the difference. And they are more open minded, whereas, like you were saying, they're more open minded on how they feel and what they're going through than we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. So there's a lot of good things about it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, we can't really blame the kids for social media. To be honest with you, like we created it, right? And then it kept advancing, advancing, advancing. But like
Yeah.
we still give it like giving a 10-year-old a phone and like giving them a
Yeah.
basketball account. Like, of
Yeah.
course they're gonna be out there seeing all this stuff that's going on. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, kids staying up to 3 a.m. They're on Snapchat, right? They're on IG, TikTok. Like,
Yep.
so all these platforms weren't created by the kids, right?
Right.
They just
We're just giving it to
utilize it
them.
now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's really, I guess, our faults that these kids are kind of in the mental state that they're in nowadays and being able to see all this stuff. Where, like you said, we
Right.
didn't really have that. Like, yeah, I had AOL, right? I had MySpace, but like couldn't get on it because like if you dialed up and while your parents were at home and they were waiting for a phone call, you probably got in
Yeah,
trouble,
exactly.
right? So you couldn't be on there besides like certain times, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yep.
it comes down to a lot of like what we've done to kind of hurt that mental state of these kids. But how are you
Mhm.
using social media to help the field? And who are some of the coaches that you're kind of looking up to and people that we should look at too in social media?
That's interesting. I feel like I post on social media for my business, but I don't really scroll that much, so I can't even say. But one coach that I love is Coach K, who recently retired, and I've read several of his books. I'm a big reader, and just watching him, and I think he, like, if you watch him coach, he's never screaming at people. He's never like belittling, piece of shit, stuff like that. And I think coaches and parents can learn from that. Like, you can educate and you can be, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, without being an asshole. And so I think parents and coaches look at this generation like, oh, they're so soft. We need to be tougher and yell more and push them down. But like, they're going to resist that. It's not going to work. So how can you just blend and give them the information without speaking in a negative way? So I try to lead by example. Like, I never say you suck. I never name call. It's always just a correction in the weight room. Like, most kids have terrible posture. So we're doing an RDL. It's like, okay, this is how I need it to be. I need you to pull your shoulders. And the purpose of this is so that we're not hurting our lower backs. Like, you have to explain. And you do have to, like, I have kids, I'll correct them, and they're like, what am I doing now? What am I doing wrong? And they get so flustered. It's like, I'm just trying to help you and make sure that you're not getting hurt. So I understand the frustration behind it, with like really intense coaches and parents, but you just have to bring it back to just educate them, speak in a calm way, and that's going to be received so much better, and you're actually going to see results from that. It's like, just belittling and screaming and trying to toughen them up in a way that's not going to work.
I mean, even because I see it now because I'm in the private sector, where you got the kids that always look to the sideline for either coaching or reassurance from their parents,
Yes.
and that's really
Or
hard to,
fear.
yeah, or fear, which is
Yeah.
really scary to see because I don't even remember back in my day, like when my parents showed
No.
up to the game, like I wasn't worried about what they were saying, like in the stands or
No.
anything like that. I was just like, I looked to the sideline for the call, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
let's
And then
roll,
you
let's
just do
play.
it.
So I don't
Exactly.
understand how that started. I understand parents like
Yeah.
the coach, they feel like they know a lot, but I think you give your kid to a coach for a reason, right? So you gotta
Yes.
sit back and allow them to be coached by someone else, and then if they have a question for you,
Absolutely.
allow them to ask you at the end of the game, at the end of practice, instead of you
Right.
coaching every little minor detail, which is crazy.
And I think it's overload for the kids because you're like in the game, you should only be looking at your coach. But then you get in trouble with mom and dad. How come you didn't? And so it's like, but then your coach is upset that you're looking at mom and dad. So it's like, that's not helpful. And I always say all the time, it's funny, I think those parents are the parents who probably did not have success in sport, honestly, or never played because they want their kid to be something that they never were. I think that's an insecurity that the parents need to address in themselves because the kids that I have of parents that did play at a high level, they are quiet. Like
Sit back and chill. Hey,
they
coach, you
sit
got it.
back.
That's your thing.
Yeah, even, with the weight room stuff, like I don't mind if parents watch you and make sure, you're enjoying what your kid's doing. That's cool. But the parents that just come drop their kid and they're like, I trust you. This is your job and your expertise. I'm going to leave. I'm like, I respect you. And their kids are usually more athletic, more successful because of the environment that they've been given. So I wish more of the other parents knew that and observed like I have one parent in my head. He played Division I basketball. His kid is now playing Division I volleyball. Another son was a basketball player in high school, and they're very successful. And he is very hands off. And he easily could be like, "I played at this level. You need to listen to me," but he doesn't. And I think that's super respectful. And the parents that never made it past JV need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I have a lot of parents that ask me because I have a 3-year-old daughter. They're like, "Are you gonna coach her? Are you gonna be involved in like everything she does?" I was like, "If she wants my help, like when she gets to that age,
Yeah,
like sure, like if she asks me for it, I'll give my advice. But mostly, I'm probably gonna like whatever coach she gets coached by, like allow them
yeah,
to coach her because like that's not my role. Yeah, I played at very high levels, but I just want to be a parent. Let me just kick
yeah,
back and allow you to
and
grow in your own
enjoy.
way. And I think a
Right.
lot of parents skip out on that. Like you said, you got the parents that
Yeah.
never made it past JV, never did D1 sports, or even were a professional athlete, and now they automatically assume the kid that they birthed is going to be a Division I athlete and he's going to make
Yeah.
it professional
Like,
because of
what
some
genes
success
are getting
story.
them that? Yeah. Like, genes do play a part. I hate to tell you, if your kid's going to be 5'4", he's not going to the NBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think
Maybe,
there's any more
but
5'4" people in the NBA.
we're kind of past that. You got to be, like, minimum 6'5" now. But I think, that to that point, like, people asking you about your 3-year-old daughter, I think that's what's changed a lot, too. Like, we're making sports so intense, so young. And I think that's affected this generation. Like they get into soccer, basketball, volleyball, whatever, at 5 or 6 years old, and it's like intense.
And then they
And when I
specialize in
was,
that one sport.
and then they specialize, which I completely disagree with. And I think that just there's so much pressure. I had a girl in high school. She was a phenomenal soccer player. She got D1 offers, and she didn't even play in college because she was so burnt out. And I think that that's a real thing. Like you have to let your kid just enjoy it. I'm not a parent yet, but I always tell people like sports are just going to be fun until like 13, 14. And then if you decide that you want to be serious, then we can step it up a notch. But it should just be fun. You should be playing multiple sports. The more you play, the more athletically rounded you are. My best basketball players have always been soccer players. Like it came from soccer every time. My best defensive players, I'll always ask, like, have you been a soccer player? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, usually not
I
the
think,
football guys. We're a little too physical.
yeah, it's true. A little less doesn't translate as well.
No.
Like DBs though, those types of positions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's a big piece to it. Like we're making it way too intense, way too young, and then no wonder that they have this complex of like, oh my gosh, if I mess up, then I suck. whatever, because that's what you're feeding them at 6 years old.
Yeah, it's scary to hear like a lot of these kids that 6, 7 years old that are only specializing in baseball, only specializing in soccer, only doing softball, just like these sports that are going year round, and you're like, hey,
Yeah,
like I don't know if you guys realize, but a lot of these coaches that are recruiting Division One athletes are actually asking for kids that play multiple sports, not
yeah,
kids that just did one sport all year round. Because majority of the time, the kid that did one sport all year round comes to college and then they're like, like I'm so tired,
yeah,
or they don't
yeah,
even go to college. They're like I'm done with sports. Like
yeah.
I'm hanging it all up. So I think you kind of put your kids at a disadvantage by putting them in one sport. And like you said, you need to be more athletically round. That usually happens when you play multiple sports.
Absolutely, because you're just moving different ways, and there's so much research too behind injuries. I mean, ACLs are getting torn at like 12, 13 years old now, which is crazy. And it's just overuse. But if you're going like season to season, going to different sports, you're gonna avoid that because you're moving in different ways. And I mean, even you look at the best athletes, like look at Patrick Mahomes. Half the reason he's so good is because he was a baseball player.
Yep.
So all that stuff translates, and I think it's so interesting when you look at, the highest level athletes that all kids look up to. They did not just play one sport. So I also I think that's a big coaches issue though too, because I do know coaches that they don't want their kids playing other sports because it means they miss the off season with them. And even school sports are going year round. There's high school summer league, high school fall league for basketball. It's all year. And a lot of coaches don't want you playing football or track or baseball because then you're missing, that chunk. So, and then you feel like you're getting punished. So if basketball is your main sport, it's like, okay, well, I got to hang up everything else so that I'm not in trouble. I'm not on the bench because I wasn't here for this
That's
league or
crazy.
whatever. Yeah, so I think I blame coaches a lot for that too because they don't really give kids the opportunity like, oh yeah, go run track, go play football, go do your thing. It's more like you can, but
Yeah, I
really think
remember this
about it.
back in school. Like for us, it was
It
we were
wasn't the
told
thing.
like,
Yeah,
hey, you're gonna play multiple sports. Otherwise,
yeah,
if you're not, like, hey, you're training all off season with us. So we're like,
yes.
man, our football
And
workouts are
you
pretty
don't want
hard.
to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go play
I'm
basketball, and when
good.
basketball's done, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to track. Other guys are like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to baseball, or you did wrestling.
Yep.
Like, there's so many
Yep.
things that we're like, yeah, I don't want to
Exactly.
do just straight football all season. So like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be back in the summer, coach. I'll see you then.
Exactly. Yeah. My track coach, they always told me I had to run cross country, so I played volleyball just so I wouldn't have to run cross country. Like I didn't care about volleyball, but it was fun. It was cool, and then went straight to basketball, straight to track, and I never felt burnt out. I always enjoyed where I was, and I enjoyed each season, but I was always also ready. Like basketball always felt the longest, depending on how far we went. It would kind of overlap with track, but I'd always be like, all right, I'm ready to get back to track now. Like, I think it keeps your spark alive. And
Yeah.
the fun is what we've lost so much of in high school sports. Like, so many people are not having fun anymore, and that's just it's so important. And you're going to be more successful if you're enjoying your time.
Yeah, I always hated when track season was about to end because I meant that spring football was starting
Yeah.
all the way from like May until like November. Football was all that we were doing. So then you like
Yep.
look forward to the end of football season. Not the
Yeah.
end of it, but like football season. Okay, now I can
Yeah.
go basketball. Basketball, I can go to
Yeah.
track. So
Switch
it
it up.
was always a little fun to just have multiple seasons to look forward to instead of having that
Hmm.
long 6 month, 8 month off season until you play again. What is
Yeah.
something that you would tell your younger self today?
Oh, so many things. One, I just wish I had me when I was younger. We didn't have like, our PE teacher did the weight room stuff, so I wasn't really lifting like that. I was biggest thing though is nutrition. I was just like a really skinny, lanky kid, so in my head it was like I can eat whatever I want, it doesn't matter. So every day I either had McDonald's or Taco Bell, and I never drank water. Like I didn't start drinking water till college. Yeah, and I'm like, if I just would have known that, like just nutrition, just drink water.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have made a hell of a difference. And also just, and I see this a lot today. I didn't really have injuries until I got to college, but I always had like aches and pains. Like you get shin splints, you get ankle pain. Like I grew 6 inches one year, so I had really bad ankle pain. And I think a lot of people don't know that when you have chronic aches and pains, a lot of times it's because you're just not strong enough for the load that you're putting on your body. And I think the prescription is always oh, just rest, take some time off, and then you sit and you do nothing, and you feel better because you're doing nothing. But then as soon as you're back, you feel that stuff again. So I wish I would have known, like, to take care of your knee pain, you got to strengthen everything around it. Same thing with ankles, shoulders. I wish I would have known that. I wish I could go back in time. So to be that, be nutrition and just like the importance of strength, not even just to like be strong on the court or the field, just to be strong so that you can maintain your body.
Yeah, McDonald's and
So
Taco Bell on a regular is wild, but I'm not gonna lie, I was right there.
every day, every day.
Hey, as long as we
Back
could
then,
afford back then, that dollar menu was
exactly. My mom would give me $20 every Monday, and I'd make that 20 stretch all week.
20 would make it a long time. If I had to pay for no
Yeah.
gas either, oh yeah,
No.
good.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I didn't think anything of it. It's like I'm not gaining any weight because that's all it was. Like if I was getting fat, then I'd be like, okay. But just like the lethargy that I probably had in practices and stuff right after, like I could have just performed so much better. So I wish I would have
Imagine
known.
doing that now. Like it'd be painful.
I mean, I feel better now. Oh yeah, I don't touch that stuff anymore. I feel better now than I did back then, and I'm like, but 15 years ago, my athletics, like I could actually jump back then. Can't take it off the ground anymore.
What is something you'd like us to ask our next guest?
Ask your next guest. And they're all in the strength and conditioning world.
They're either strength and conditioning. We do a little bit of finance talk. We also
Okay.
talk to people that work on the mental side of things. So be from any walk, so
Okay.
you can ask whatever.
That's a good question. I guess what they feel like is the most important thing for athletes to do on a regular basis. What have other people answered?
So one of the questions was, what would you tell your younger self?
Okay.
And we've had some like, what do they feel they're important in the industry? Like what we do is important
Okay.
for athletes. How they deal with imposter syndrome. And then I always ask, you ask the question, so how would you answer it?
What I think is the most important thing for athletes to know, to just enjoy what you're doing. Like enjoy your sport, enjoy your time. That's a lot of my conversations when it comes to mental performance. They'll realize like I perform my best when I'm having fun. And it sounds very basic. Just enjoy your time. Sports aren't forever. Even if you get to the highest level, you're tapped out by 30 years old. You have so much life to live after that. And also thinking about like everything that sports are doing for you aside from the quote unquote success. Like forget the scholarship, forget the accolades. Like you're learning so much that's going to translate to life. Discipline, time management, how to work with other people that you may not get along with. So just really soaking everything in about it and not worrying so much about the end goal. Just, have fun, soak it all in. Seems kind of basic, but I think
I
people
mean,
can always be reminded.
it sounds basic, but it's hard to tell a 12, 13-year-old, like, hey, like, enjoy the process, like, soak it all in,
Yeah.
because it goes by fast. Because we sit
Yeah.
back and, like, now, for me at 33, like, I think back, like, hey, somebody told me back then in high school, like, enjoy these high school years because they go by fast. Like, enjoy college
That.
because it will happen fast, and, like, your career could end there. Like, there's so many times that, like, sports can be completely done because you don't know if you're going to make it to the next level. So while you're in the process of it, you have the ability to play now, like, enjoy it because you don't even know if an injury is going to stop you. You don't know if you're not going to make it to the next level. So it's so many factors that go into it that while you're in, just have fun because
Just be there. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Coach, that's all I got for you, Joey. And thank you so much for jumping on today and taking some time out.
Yeah, of course.